On today's episode of Time About the Movies, Tron is back, a brand new Tron movie after nearly 30 years, with Jeff Bridges back as Kevin Flynn, and it's a much different looking movie, certainly, than the original master cult classic. We'll take a look at Tron Legacy, which is the big new holiday release, but we also have Dan Aykroyd as the voice of Yogi Bear alongside Justin Timberlake as Boo Boo, and we also have Paul Rudd, Owen Wilson, Reese Witherspoon, and Jack Nicholson in James L. Brooks' latest film, How Do You Know? Which you would not think that movie would be as big of a bomb as it is, but wait until we get into that, because that's a very interesting story on its own merits. Nicole Kidman stars alongside Aaron Eckhart and Diane Wiest in Rabbit Hole, and Kevin Spacey and Barry Pepper star in Casino Jack, as we're getting closer to the end of 2010, the week before Christmas. This is Time About the Movies for December 17th, 2010. And you can only imagine what people were like when they went to the Race to Witch Mountain Comic-Con panel in 2008 and saw that trailer play at the end of it. Because that's where that first trailer came out, was in 2008. And nobody knew that this movie was even existing. Nobody even knew this thing was a reality. And it took it was 2 years after that trailer came out before the movie finally made its debut in theaters. As I welcome you to another episode of Time About the Movies. December 17th, 2010. We got 5 films to look at. And needless to say, the biggest of the new releases is Tron Legacy. And this is, of course, a sequel to the 1982 cult classic Tron, which was not the big hit back then in terms of the box office, but it was a critical success back then for its impressive visuals at the time, and has since gone on to have this massive cult following, which led to the sequel finally coming together in 2005, and then the trailer first came out in 2008, and now we have it here in 2010. And we follow the story of Flynn, Jeff Bridges once again, and his adult son Sam, played by Garrett Hedlund, who responds to a message from his long-lost father and is transported into the virtual reality called the Grid, where Sam, his father, and the algorithm Cora, played by Olivia Wilde, must stop the malevolent program Clue, played by another version of Jeff Bridges, which he looks like the Jeff Bridges from the 1982 movie, while his father, you see in the trailer there, from invading the real world. And yeah, needless to say, this is definitely a much different looking movie than the first film. The visual effects have obviously been updated for a new generation. You can tell there's a lot of influence on the Matrix in general. And, you got that great music by Daft Punk. I mean, this is a movie that, it was very interesting when it came out, because this was set up to be the big holiday blockbuster of the season. I mean, Disney put this in the same spot that Lord of the Rings was in. They put this in the same spot that Narnia was in. They were hoping for the big success, and it did become a success, but maybe not the success that most people were expecting it to be. Critics were mostly mixed on the movie in general, but the film overall did well enough to secure, its own legacy behind it, because now there's a Tron attraction of the Magic Kingdom. And, I was talking about it yesterday. We had the Tron Ares trailer drop again, the new one, which is coming out in October of this year with Jared Leto in it. So, yeah, there's a lot of things about the movie that have held up with this since this has come out. I remember going to see this back then, and I really enjoyed it. I love the first Tron movie. So, yeah, naturally, I was really looking forward to seeing what they do with this one here. And I'll say this, it has gotten a lot better since I've seen it. I liked it back then. I really like it now. I think the visuals still hold up. I think the music by Daft Punk still holds up after all these years. I mean, that music overall is just great to watch. The cast overall is great. Garrett Hedlund, I think, is very good. Olivia Wilde. Jeff Bridges playing dual roles in here. Very nicely done. The visuals, like I said, are great. The production design overall is really good. The story is fine, I guess, but it's kind of a precursor to what the Legacy sequel has now become. It's just like, here's this group of new characters, and hey, we're gonna bring back somebody from the first movie again. And in this case, it's Jeff Bridges, and this was back when this was kind of a new thing, and not what it's become nowadays. Which, speaking of Legacy sequels, Joseph Kosinski, of course, would later go on to create the Legacy sequel that kind of has influenced this new generation of this new stretch of Legacy sequels, Top Gun Maverick, which was a good movie. I won't say it's a great movie. I don't like it as much as everybody else does, but I don't hate it either. I was just never really much of a Top Gun person in general. And I think the Bob's Burgers movie on that same weekend was the far better movie. At least in my opinion it was. But anyway, that's a whole other thing altogether. But Tron Legacy, I think, is a very good film. I think it is a film that elevates the previous film to another level, upgrades the ante, ups the ante, upgrades the visuals in general. I think they deliver everything you can ask for and then some. It was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it a lot, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the next one, where they have the programs coming into the real world. I think they can do a lot with that, especially with the director they got for this movie coming up, who also did The Young Woman in the Sea and also Kon-Tiki. But then again, he also did Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales, as well as Maleficent: Rise of Evil, I think it was. And those sequels are not that great, so it could go either way with that movie, but Tron Legacy was pretty good, and one I highly recommend checking out, especially with the new one coming up. Definitely check it out. It's actually worth a watch. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is the animated live-action hybrid, Yogi Bear.
Yogi Bear in 3D. This isn't gonna make me look fat, is it?
It's one of those movies that you think is dead on arrival, but you know, the funny thing is, most people thought Dan Aykroyd was going to be the safe bet with this movie because, you know, Dan Aykroyd has got that distinctive voice for Yogi Bear. It works very well for him. He's fine in the movie, but really no one really thought that Justin Timberlake, of all people, was going to work so well as Boo Boo. But he's the one that really does capture the spirit of Dawes Butler of Don Messick, excuse me. Dawes Butler was Yogi Bear, but Don Messick as Boo Boo. I think he did a fantastic job in this movie in particular. The story here is very simple. You've got Yogi Bear trying to save Jellystone Park from being logged over by essentially the David Cross of this movie, played by Andrew Daly. And of course, he's got Ranger Smith, played by Tom Cavanaugh. There's this reporter, played by Anna Faris, and you know, he has this side. He's got this side ranger played by T.J. Miller, which is funny because he actually auditioned with a real bear for this particular movie. And I thought that was kind of interesting in general here. And again, this is a type of film that could easily fall apart, but honestly, compared to stuff like Garfield, Alvin and the Chipmunks, and the Smurfs, this is actually one of the better adaptations of a cartoon that you could possibly get here. And it's not a long movie at all. It's only 80 minutes long. But when you add in this, takes it to about 90 minutes in length, and again, it's another one of those movies that has a Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner short in front of it, so of course I went to go see it when it came out. And yeah, overall, I thought the movie was fine. I thought it was a fun movie in general. It sticks to the point of the cartoon. It sticks to the concept of the cartoon. They don't add elevating levels to it that makes it more complicated than it needs to be. Like, there's no spiritual existential crisis going on like in Fat Albert. There isn't, you know, an overabundance of like poop and fart jokes like in Alvin and the Chipmunks. There is in a sense that the people had no idea what they were doing when they were making Garfield. Like, you don't have the actor who's playing Garfield thinking that he stepped into a Coen Brothers movie, and you know, and not the Coen Brothers you think you are, but the other Coen Brothers. But no, this is a very simple, straightforward plot and a very simple, straightforward story. It's not asking you to do anything different or unique compared to the animated shorts that follow this. Just stick to the formula, and you'll get a good movie out of it. A fun movie overall. I won't even say good movie, but a fun movie overall. Like, this is the type of movie where I will probably be very much alone on this, but I actually did enjoy this a lot more than most people give it credit for. I think it works mostly because the acting is very good. Dan Aykroyd and Justin Timberlake really do make these characters work. The rest of the cast overall is a mixed bag. Tom Cavanaugh is just kind of half-assed, and then not as much as Jason Lee does in Alvin and the Chipmunks. Anna Faris doesn't have as many funny moments as you would expect from her. T.J. Miller I thought was not bad in here. Neither was Andrew Daly, who's kind of, like I said, he's basically playing the equivalent to David Cross's character in Alvin and the Chipmunks, and not as funny as he is in those movies, but funny enough. And like I said, it's no classic by any means necessary. It's the type of movie that you need to go into it knowing what it's going to be, and you might actually enjoy it more than most people than you would like to give it credit for. It's definitely a movie I would say is a lot better than it makes it out to be. But I'm not going to say it's a masterpiece by any means necessary. But if you want a good adaptation that sticks tried and true more than something like Garfield, Alvin the Chipmunks, or the Smurfs, Yogi Bear might be the right way to go with it. At least in my opinion it is. So, yeah, I highly recommend it. Just on that front alone. Maybe not highly recommended, but I recommend it for a one-time watch, maybe. With all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. The movie that you would not expect this to be a flop, considering it comes from the Academy Award-winning filmmaker of Terms of Endearment, Broadcast News, and As Good as It Gets, and includes a cast that includes Paul Rudd, Owen Wilson, Reese Witherspoon, and Jack Nicholson. How do you know?
George, how are you?
Good to see you.
Yeah.
That trailer kind of gives you an indication of the things that are wrong with this movie. It is definitely all over the place. Like, it literally is a film that is so all over the place in terms of the story and the characters in here. You have a story about a softball player, played by Reese Witherspoon, who's caught in a love triangle between two men. Her boyfriend, played by Owen Wilson, and a businessman who is the target of an SEC stock fraud suit, played by Paul Rudd. And his father is Jack Nicholson, in what would be his final film performance before he would eventually retire. And yeah, not the best way to go out on. But okay, so it doesn't look that it doesn't look that terrible in general. It just looks kind of bland. So why is this considered one of the biggest bombs of all time? Well, the budget on this movie was $120 million, and I know what you're thinking. Where the fuck did they spend $120 million on this movie? Well, let's put it this way. James L. Brooks actually started working on this film 5 years prior to this in 2005. He essentially interviewed numerous women for hundreds of hours in researching the film, and also became invested in the dilemmas of contemporary business executives who are sometimes held accountable by the law for corporate behavior on which they may not even be aware of. He essentially created Paul Rudd and Jack Nicholson's character for this concept alone. So already you have an already complicated subplot, storyline as it is, and then you add this other element of the story that really does not add up here. But also, this film finished filming in November of 2009, and then Brooks later reshot the film's opening and ending. And so the film essentially went up to $120 million with a net budget of $100 million after tax rebates from Pennsylvania and the District of Columbia. But on top of that, the salaries were ridiculous on this. James L. Brooks got $10 million. Reese Witherspoon got $15 million. Jack Nicholson got $12 million. Owen Wilson got $10 million. Paul Rudd got $3 million. This was back before Paul Rudd became the Paul Rudd that became more notable for stuff like Ant-Man and all that. But that's $50 million of the budget alone on this. And Brooks' slow and meticulous production and post-production process was also given as reasons for the size of the budget in general here. And, you know, this is the same guy who made I'll Do Anything, which was supposed to be this musical, but they had to re-edit it out of it, all musical elements out of it, and because the test reel was not that great. And that film failed miserably at the box office too, even though it wasn't that bad of a movie. But this is definitely a film that just felt like it was so all over the place in terms of what they were trying to accomplish here. What was the point of the storyline here? What was the point of the subplot with Paul Rudd and Jack Nicholson? Like, this didn't feel like classic James L. Brooks. This didn't feel like the James L. Brooks we knew from stuff like Broadcast News and Terms of Endearment, or even the stuff he did on television with the Mary Tyler Moore Show, or The Simpsons, or Taxi, all those shows. It doesn't feel like that. It just feels like a director who thought he could have that magic again and do what he usually does, but, you know, times change in terms of how you make a movie like this, and you don't make a movie like this for $120 million and expect to make that back if you can't even figure out what the simple concept of it should be. And sadly, that's what happens here with the movie. I mean, everybody's trying their best in terms of the acting in here, but even they can't save this film in general. And you can see why it took James L. Brooks nearly 15 years to get back on track with another movie. He's got another one coming out this fall, Ella McKay, which it says it comes out on December the 12th, so technically we're not too far away from getting a trailer pretty soon. So, I don't know, maybe in the next couple of months or so. Maybe the next couple of months or so we probably get a new trailer coming up soon. But other than that, though, just like, this really does not feel like James L. Brooks at his best. This feels like a James L. Brooks who's struggling to, like, keep up the pace with the new generation of filmmaking in general, and it really does hurt the film in general here. It's a film that's just so all over the place, convoluted, such a mess of a film. you expect so much better with the talent involved in here, and you get one of the biggest mess-ups in a long, long time. I mean, this thing was a disaster on the level of Town and Country. That's how bad this is. If you have to compare yourself to something like Town and Country, that's a problem. That's a massive, massive problem with this movie. So how do you know? Let's go ahead and move on to some indie films now, including Nicole Kidman starring in John Cameron Mitchell's Rabbit Hole. So in this movie, Nicole Kidman and Aaron Eckhart are a happily married couple whose perfect world is forever changed when their young son Danny is killed by a car. Becca, an executive-turned-stay-at-home mother, tries to redefine her existence in a surreal landscape of well-meaning family and friends. Painful, poignant, and often funny, Becca's experiences lead her to find solace in a mysterious relationship with a troubled young comic book artist, Jason, played by Miles Teller in one of his early film roles, the teenage driver of the car that killed Denny. So, yeah, that's awkward. Becca's fixation with Jason pulls her away from memories of Danny while Howie immerses himself in the past, seeking refuge in outsiders who offer him something Becca is unable to give. The Corbett's, both adrift, make surprising and dangerous choices as they choose a path that will determine their fate. So, yeah, this is this is a trend with Nicole Kidman, apparently. Like, she stars in these movies where she gets the younger guy in here, and I'm not questioning her or anything. I just think that's very odd that we have that here, but I mean, she's good in the movie, and you can see why she got an Oscar nomination for Best Actress here. Kind of reminds me a lot of Revolutionary Road from a few years back, except nowhere near as gritty and as dark as that movie was. This thing just is fine, I guess. It's nothing that amazing, nothing too spectacular. I think that it's one of those ones where the performances really do stand out more than the actual movie itself. Everybody in here, I think, does a very good job in terms of the performances in general, but it's one of those ones where you watch it once, it's just kind of like, I'm glad I saw it, but I have no real intentions on watching this again. That's overall my thinking on this movie. Good, nothing great overall, So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie. That's Kevin Spacey as Casino Jack.
This whole Senate hearing is out of order!
Oh shit, Kevin Spacey's defending himself in court. That's the worst thing that could happen here. But this is Casino Jack, focusing on the career of a Washington, D.C. lobbyist and businessman, Jack Abramoff, played by Kevin Spacey, who's involved in a massive corruption scandal that leads to his conviction as well as the conviction of 2 White House officials, Representative Bob Ney and 9 other lobbyists and congressional staffers. Abramoff was convicted of fraud, conspiracy, and tax evasion in 2006, and served 3.5 years of a 6-year sentence in federal prison before he was released on December 3rd, 2010, coincidentally 2 weeks before the movie came out. So, hey, he got a chance to see this movie that he was in. And this is notable because this is directed by George Hickenlooper, who passed away nearly 2 months before this movie came out in October. I can't remember what he died of. I think he died of, they said it was it says here they died of a supposed heart attack, but the coroner ruled that his death was more of an accidental painkiller overdose, sleep apnea, and a moderately enlarged heart that are seen as the contributing factors. But he did direct one really good movie, The Hearts of Darkness, a filmmaker's Apocalypse, a documentary about Apocalypse Now. And I would like to say that this movie is a good way to go out on him, but not really. You can tell by that little bit of the trailer there. It's all over the place in terms of the style, the humor, what they're trying to go for here. It was a really good cast. Kevin Spacey, Barry Pepper, Kelly Preston, John Lovitz, Rachel LaFear, Maury Chaykin. Good talent all around in this movie, but kind of like with Rabbit Hole, just not much there to make it stand out on its own. This is definitely not a good movie. And, Kevin Spacey's fine in here, but, I mean, it's Kevin Spacey. I mean, say what you will about him in real life. The guy is a hell of an actor, and he's trying his best to say whatever he can with this. It's just not there, man. And this thing is it's largely forgettable. In fact, I've pretty much already forgotten about it since I've seen it, so. Not much more to say about that one. That's Casino Jack. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies, and we head into the penultimate week of 2010, Christmas weekend, where we have Little Fockers, the movie that I've been hyping up as one of the worst sequels ever made, and can't wait to delve into tell you why that is. We have the Coen brothers directing one of the best remakes of recent memory. Jeff Bridges in this one as well, True Grit. Again, another movie that should have won Best Picture. But we have Jack Black starring in the big screen adaptation of Gulliver's Travels, and what else we have? We have Sofia Coppola's... Is this Sofia Coppola? Yeah, Sofia Coppola's newest film, Somewhere. And we also have Gwyneth Paltrow in Country Strong, a.k.a. trying to be this year's Crazy Heart, but not quite as successful. But 5 movies to take a look at here on this penultimate weekend of the first decade of the 2010s. The first weekend of the first year of the 2010s, not the first decade, but you get what I'm trying to say here. But anyway, with all that said, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you somehow found enjoyment out of this. If you did, hey, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. Don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the last episode we did. And stay tuned for a Time About the Movies flashback coming up after I post this up here. So we'll see you there after that. But in the meantime, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.